Hi, this is Mary Lee McRoberts, and I'm your host for Clear Direction. I'm really glad you joined me today. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then the structure of the show really is I'll talk a little bit, I might teach a little bit, callers will call in with questions that they might have. So I'm a psychic medium, which means I receive information about people. I am clairaudient and clairsentient and clairvoyant. So for all those kind of crazy words, it means that I can see inside my head, and I hear and feel in my body, and I receive information about people and places and things that way. I also communicate with people who've crossed over on the other side. So people who've been living and who've passed, as well as all kinds of other energy beings that occupy that sixth dimension, which is really what it is. Let's see, what else do I want to tell you? I was born with it. We all are born with amazing intuitive abilities. And gradually, over time, I came to understand that I was operating a little bit differently than maybe some other people. So I was in the world of business for 30 years, and I literally could read people's minds. They'd tell me one thing and I could see what was going to happen, and it wouldn't necessarily be what they were telling me. And so over time, I started to explore that ability. So I'm not one of those people who fell off a horse and woke up, with a gift. It was always there. And I spent a good amount of time developing it so that I could be as good as I could be with what I do. So I'm also a Reiki master healer and teacher. So I work with hands-on healing, and I teach other people how to do that. Lots of other things, but anyway, that's probably enough for now. So when I drive into the studio for this show every Wednesday, I always ask Spirit, what should I be talking about today? And so there's a repetition that's happened with clients that I've had in the last 2 weeks that I think is really important for me to communicate to you. And it's that question that people ask, okay, I want to change. And it's like, how do I change? And then what happens to all those people around me when I'm different than I was before? And I'm sure we've all asked that question when we've wanted to make change in our lives. So I'll give you a little bit more of what I kept seeing with people. It would be somebody who's in a relationship, maybe. They're in a marriage or just a relationship with somebody. And the person I'm working with wants to have more balance in their life, and they want to explore their intuitive abilities, but they want to bring balance. They want to have maybe a marriage or relationship that's more equal, and the parts that are out of balance, they're not comfortable with. And so it's just been person after person after person, it's men and women, right? So in helping somebody shift their vibration, so we're like radio stations. We have a vibration, and as you increase your vibration and you're more in joy, then you attract more of that kind of event to you. So as an example, if a client came to me and I worked on them and helped them shift their energy and gave them some homework to do and started to teach them to look at what's good, not what's bad, or maybe what's right with things. Their husband or partner might not like that things are changing a little bit, right? So there's some pushback that goes on. One of the things that I always tell people is that you want to have people around you who absolutely love and adore you. Now, that's a wonderful, great, grandiose statement, right? But it's absolutely true. Why would we ever want people around us who didn't love and adore us and support us, right? And so in teaching people about that and talking about that, then they go inside and look at their relationships to see what's out of balance. So one of the things I do is I have people get a piece of paper, write down all the people in your life, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, relatives, friends, whoever they are, put their name, and then across the top, 1 to 10, 10 meaning I feel fabulous after I've been with that person, 1 meaning I feel horrible. And I want you to measure them all. I want you to measure everybody, even your sister-in-law who's really having a tough life. And, I want you to look at how you feel when you're done. Do you feel energized and better, or do you just feel like the life was sucked out of you? And it's really important to look at, the people we draw to us and how they affect us. So when you want to make change, you've got to go look at all the people around you and then start to pay attention to being around people who make you feel better, not worse. And it's kind of a hard thing to do in the beginning. So back to relationships, it's as you start to make those changes and you want more balance, then the person you're in relationship with is going to push back. And the wonderful part about that is if you stick to your guns, what happens is it will impact the other person mostly in a good way, because they feel you being happier. Once they get used to you being different, then they will feel you be happier, and that's beneficial for them too. So it's always kind of a tricky spot, right, in the beginning when people are starting to make change. There are lots of things you can do to help that, but I'm just getting those people over and over and over, and I'm being shown that I'm supposed to talk to you about that. So it'll be interesting to see what our questions are today, actually. At this point, I'm going to take the first call from a caller, and then I'll come back and talk with you. So, hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can. So, what's your name?
My name is Angie.
Okay, Angie, what can I help you with?
Well, I lost my dad about 5 years ago, pretty abruptly. And the night that he died, he actually had made a comment about me not being married or having children, but talking about my strength and independence. And since then, I've had a couple of relationships that didn't last, and the last one specifically, I kind of got lost in, and it ended badly. And so I'm kind of questioning now what my love life will look like in the future. I'm at a point in my age where I question if I'm going to have a family or if I'm going to find a partner. And I've done a lot of work on myself recently and over the years, but I just kind of want to know your input and guidance.
Okay. So can you hear me, Angie?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So as I'm looking at you, I can't see you talking, so I'm listening to you and just looking at your face. So was connecting into your energy, and as you were talking to me and starting to see pictures. So how it works for me is I'll feel it in my body, and then I'll start to see images and things like that. So this is what I'm being shown. I'm being shown that there was so there's a lot of fear, and I can feel it right up in my chest up here. So almost like somebody's kind of sitting on me, a little bit different than that. And I'll tell you in a minute. So there's a piece that came in from Dad, and it has to do with you feeling like you might not be good enough, and that you might not be good enough, and that you're disappointing him, and that you're challenged in. So let me just stop for a second. So I'm just kind of going inside for just a minute, because your father. Yeah, it has to do with not wanting to disappoint your dad and feeling like you're not going to be able to do it right. So does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And I'm sure his intention, that wasn't his intention maybe, but when I connect with his energy, I can see where he might not have always said things in a way that came out the way maybe he intended with you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So he might have had, he feels to me like he was wanting to help, but in what he was saying, didn't do that at all. It actually made you feel kind of like you were a little bit of a loser. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a fear that you're carrying with you when you go in to have, number one, that you want to have a relationship, that you need to have a relationship, and that's an important thing, and that's what we're supposed to do. And the measure of our success in our world is having a good relationship. And so then it's almost like Dad, I'll show you a little bit. There's a little bit of energy around that. But what's happening is you're walking into it with there's fear that it's not going to work. And so let me just tell you something a little bit better. So as I get quiet like this, I literally am moving closer into your energy and closer into his energy, so I can there's fear that you're not going to be able to make it happen, that you're not good enough. So it's almost like they just showed me, like he just kind of knocked the underpinnings out from under you. When somebody comes up behind somebody and they punch them in the back of their legs, they showed me a picture like that. So that information that he gave you really kind of knocked the wind out of you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So your question is, how can you create a good relationship with someone going forward? Is that right?
Right. And also, is there still a possibility that I'm going to have a family? Should I give up on that?
Okay, so I heard that. I'm just... No, I don't think you should give up on that at all. And I actually can see somebody. So just as you were talking, so I can see somebody, and I don't know what you have in mind, but I can see somebody who actually has already has 2 children, a daughter and a son. And I don't know if you're interested in being involved in with a family that's already kind of created, but I can see a man like that, like a really lovely man with these 2 children, and they're in the maybe 5, 7, no, a little bit older, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old range, but really nice children. And it feels like his wife might have crossed. I'm not sure. So how are you with something like that?
I'm fine with that. I'm actually recently dating someone who has 2 children, a boy and a girl. And it's going well, but it's very new. So
yeah, well, I think
that's exciting to hear.
Yeah, so that's what they showed me, and he's a good guy. And so I don't know if his wife passed or if they divorced. But she feels gone. Like it feels like he has the kids. Does he have custody of these kids?
They have shared custody.
They have shared custody. It feels like, so this is what it feels like to me, is that he literally, those kids need a good mom, and not to say anything about the other one, but that this would be a really balanced thing. It wouldn't be one of those situations where a stepmom comes in and she's kind of not, like it's not like that. This relationship that I see literally is about totally fulfilling, and those kids loving you just as much or more than if you would have had them yourself. So this is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very interesting, and that really means a lot to me, because that was his primary, or is his primary concern, is really meeting a woman who doesn't treat his children like stepchildren or not part of a family. So that was really important that you said that.
Right. And what I get from him is that he also, you would never be treated that way as well. So, him wanting somebody who can do that, but also coming from him, that 100% support that you're never going to be less than, that those kids are your kids. Just, I think that's wonderful. That's a lovely way for that to happen. I know. So, so maybe that isn't exactly what you thought. Yeah. So literally I like him. He's like a good guy. He's a really good guy.
Well, I think so. So that's good to hear. Reassuring.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that you're, if you want to have birth children, that doesn't mean that, okay, so I'll show you something. They just gave me a picture. So they'll show out, my people on the other side, my guides, my information, will show me pictures of things that means something to me. So, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have a child of your own. And just when I said that, they popped up a picture of a young man who, I don't know, met him 3 years ago maybe, and in the course of where I take my car for service, and I saw this, and he has 2 stepchildren, and he has a wife and loves those stepchildren. I mean, they're his, right? They're absolutely his. They showed me his face because when I sat down and talked with him at the get-go, I was like, well, so you're gonna have children? I mean, I didn't even know him. And he's like, no, I just love it like this, and I could see a little baby girl, right? And so I'm like, well, anyway, long story short, a giant mistake happened, and she got pregnant, and they had this little baby girl, and they are a family of 3 now, and absolutely the most incredible family you ever want to see. So they showed me. So I'm just, so don't, even if you decide, if this all comes together and you decide these children are enough, I would just let it all happen.
Okay.
I know.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
I would be grateful to be a stepmother.
Yeah. And but when they showed me, because they showed me his picture, that was a family happy exactly the way they were, and then lo and behold, something that never could happen or wasn't supposed to happen or not in their plan or anything, boom, and this little girl is like 3 years old and the sweetest thing you've ever seen, and the joy of everybody's life. So. Yeah, so good for you. I'm really glad you called today, actually. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, me too. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Or potentially exciting anyway.
Yeah, so just relax into this and don't worry that you're going to make a mistake, because there's a part of, there was a doubt that came into you, in that conversation with your dad. And when I see that, it's like he didn't intend always. It's one of those sort of, I guess what we would call, they're like passive aggressive statements or something, some kind of judgment. It's like he meant well, right? But in that, it really was, and when I say meant well, they're correcting me a little bit. He wasn't intending to maybe have that take you out of balance as much as it did, or have you lose faith in yourself that you're not gonna, not be the way that he thought you should be. That was a major.
I agree.
Yeah.
At the time, I was in a relationship that probably needed to end sooner than it did, and I think what he was attempting to say is that he respects me as being a strong, independent woman. And even though I didn't have a ring on my finger, that I would be okay on my own. It's just now, almost 5 years later, it crosses my mind, and am I going to be alone? So I don't think that he meant any ill will, but
no, but right, absolutely. And so, yeah, because it was real clear to me that he really didn't intend what the result of what he said was, right? That isn't what he was trying to do. But that was, that's sort of that thing, we could be little and somebody could say, oh, well, you just have big ears or something, and then that's better to hear with. And then for the rest of your life, you're like self-conscious about your ears. It's sort of one of those kind of things that, in saying it undermined, your belief in yourself in some ways. So he's sorry for that. That wasn't his intention at all. Yeah. So I think you're not going to be alone for the rest of your life. You don't have to worry about that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
so
you. Is there any?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, is there anything else like that you feel or hear from my dad that you would share with me or my brother?
So he feels like he's really engaged actually with helping your brother right now. Does that resonate with you?
Yes.
Yeah, it's so he's on the other side. So when you actually started talking, I could see him off over there. So everything's backward on the camera, so that's over there to me, to the left of the screen. So he would be on the right side of you, and he's back a ways. And I saw a son with him, but not on the other side. Your brother's on this side. So when I see people, I see him on this side, that side. So if somebody's on this side and they come in, it's their soul, spirit, that's their higher self, whatever you want to call it, that's coming in that I'm connecting with. So, yeah. And so he's next to your dad, and your he's helping him. So your brother's having some, it's like his attention is on him right now. He's having some challenges, is what it feels like to me. Needing guidance.
Yes, that's accurate.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's needing guidance. So your dad's actually helping. So he recognizes. That's why the first information he gave me was about, he knew he like screwed up when he said to you the way he did, right? He could see after he crossed the ramification that was happening to you, that unintended consequences were happening because of, kind of how that came in, because had some judgment to it. And so he's working with your brother, and it literally shows me him he's standing next to your brother, actually. Right next to him. So he's right next to him, which means he's helping him every step of the way right now.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you. Thanks for calling. It was really nice.
Thank you.
It was really nice to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay, so it's time for us to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a minute or two. All right. Hi, welcome back. So if you were here for the last caller, I want to explain a little bit about how this works, how this happens, and what I'm doing when I'm talking to somebody. Because I know, I do a lot of teaching and mentoring of people, and everybody's wanting to know how to communicate, how to open up their channels for intuition, and how to communicate with the other side. So literally, when she started to talk, it's that thing. Let's see, how can I explain it? It would be like if you were looking off in the distance and you were trying to focus your eye on something. It's almost the opposite of that. Literally, what I do is I can see her, but I just stop seeing her, and the information. So the physical her is still there, but I'm not really looking at her. It's like the information just starts to come into my body, and then the pictures start to come. And then it's a matter of interpreting that information in the way that's important, that's correct, and in a way that will help her have healing, because it's all about the healing of the person who's calling and wanting that connection. So right at the beginning when she started talking, I could see her father, and he was in the background, so he was off a bit, and I can tell by the distance, like how close they were in relationship or how long ago it was that they crossed. Things mean different things, and you kind of have to learn over time how to interpret what you're seeing. But I also saw what she said was her brother. I could see a son next to him. And they don't always show me the age they are, like you would think, but people, when they come in from the other side, they'll show you how they liked, how they looked. If somebody crosses, they don't usually show you how they looked, if they were sick or whatever, because they didn't like that. It's really interesting when you start to learn how to connect in. We all connect in. We all get information all the time, but it flitters right through so fast that you don't really realize. Most people don't realize. I mean, I was like that too. It's just but I had just had it the other day. I ignored something. I can't even remember what it was. It was just like, boom. It's like a thought just flips through your mind so fast you almost can't grab a hold of it. That's always information coming. So just like this morning, I mean, literally I opened a drawer, and when I went to shut it, something got caught on the edge of it, and I looked at it and I knew this is something I'm supposed to do, right? That's a person, who didn't believe in synchronicities would say, oh, well, that's a coincidence or whatever. But I realized that nothing is a coincidence, that all these things that are happening to us all the time are orchestrated in this beautiful dance. And so I'll say one more thing before I take the next caller. So what's really important is to pay attention to all those things that are happening to you that seem magical, or I can't even believe that happened. So just like this circumstance with the caller before, so I didn't know she was dating somebody with those 2 children, right? But they're showing me that's that picture, right? And so there's a part of her that is afraid she won't do it right. And they were showing me that. And so he's already here. The family's already here. So that's going to help her not be afraid of it. And that's not right. So when I said that, I got corrected. So it's not for her not to be afraid of it. It's to allow her to trust it, and let it in. And I would love to talk to her in a year, because I think she's going to have a really great story. Anyway, okay, so enough of that. Let's, we've got callers in the queue, so let's take the next caller.
Hi.
So, hi, what's your name?
It's Jennifer.
Okay, Jennifer, what can I do to help you?
So I have so many questions, so I'm trying to figure out, what do I narrow it down to? My life is in a lovely yet sometimes terrifying transition, sort of every area right now. Housing, career, relationship. I think sort of what's my main focus right now and my main confusion is career. Making a big transition between fields, and really kind of confused as to where I should be going, where I should be putting my energy in now that will really bring me to joy. That's never really been my focus. It's always been to follow a particular path that didn't necessarily bring me joy. And now I really want to shift my life more towards a joy-focused path. And I'm a little lost, to be honest.
Yeah. So there's a lot of fear, like right here in my gut, right? There's a lot of fear that comes up about this. So there's a piece that got, what I'm being shown is just sort of a piece that got put into your belief system. Let me see if I can say this right. You know that thing where I can remember when I was, so I'm a lot older than you are. When I was young, it was like, you figure out what you want to be, like by the time you're in high school, and you go to college and you get your degree, and then you go out and you do that, and you have your life, and that's the way it's supposed to be. And then as time has gone on, our culture, thankfully, has broadened and allows for people to have a little bit more exploration. But there's a piece in here, and it's odd. It's almost like a dichotomy. But what I'm being shown is there's a piece in there that that believes that you're supposed to know. It's like this is funny. It's like, this is what respectable people do. I don't know why they're using respectable, because that seems kind of, but it's like, this is what, respectable people do, is they know what they're going to do, and then they go do that, and, they make their goal, and this is it, and they work toward it, and they have their life. So let me just connect for a second, because they're giving me 2 sides to this, and there's this other side. So there's a side for you that feels like you're not, if you're just going to bounce around and explore things, that's not cool. That means you're failing in some way. Does that make sense to you?
Very much so. Yeah. Kind of like, kind of lazy, or, I can't find the word, but floundering, wasting time kind of thing.
Right. And it's like, because how come I haven't found what it is that I'm really here to do that really feeds my soul, right? So what's different about you so this is what I can see. What's different about you than the way they did it in my era? So that's why they showed me my era. I was like, I wonder why they're showing me this. It's because of this. So in my era, we would take the job. We would do what was that was in front of us, whether our family thought we should be a doctor or whether, whatever it was. We would do it and maybe hate it, and then we'd get to retirement, and then it would be like, okay, now you get to go find your passion. But so things have changed, right? But you're still kind of feeling that same way. Like if I don't know what my passion is, there's something wrong with me. And so you feel like you're adrift. It's like you're not anchored anywhere. So let me help you with this. So how about if you could look at your life like, there's not anything wrong with the experiences that I'm having. I can trust that whatever they are, it's because I'm learning from this experience. So it could be being hired and fired, right? Somebody lets you go from a job and it feels horrible. And we are like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. And yet years later, you can look back and go, my gosh, you know what happened? It strengthened me. I learned how to, I walked through fear and shame and embarrassment and this and that and the other. And I'm so much better on the other side of it. So is it possible for you to look at each as they show me like a tumbleweed kind of, like tumbling along, that to look at those experiences as experiences that will all make sense down the road when you are doing what you love. Oh.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm starting to do that.
And the question then is, well, how come I'm not doing what I love, right? Because when I said that, so what happens is the language in the other side is so much broader than what we have here in our English language. It's bigger than our words are. So when I'm using words, sometimes they don't describe it to the fullness of what the information is. So I kind of have to circle around it a little bit with more words and more words. So it's about changing the way you're looking at yourself. It's about changing your judgment for yourself. Instead of saying to yourself, I'm a loser I'm whatever age I am and I haven't, I'm not a lawyer in a firm and have tried 2 cases in front of the Supreme Court or whatever it is you want to do, right? But it's like, so what's the matter with me that I haven't achieved certain things that we measure in this world as success? So is there a part of you that judges yourself because of that?
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. I mean, because I've left careers that I've been trained in and spent a lot, educated in, and it's just to follow what, it's one of those people would look at you saying, what are you doing? You're leaving that solid career path, to go do what? There's judgment.
So it's self-judgment. It's about measuring yourself and saying, oh my gosh, so I just saw the picture of Louise Hay. So Louise Hay is the woman who owns Hay House. She was 60 years old when she started Hay House. 60. Not to say that you're going to be that age, but literally she created her empire, and not even, that's not the right word, but this company that gets all this information out to the world. When she was 60, she started it then. So we have this judgment about ourselves, and people look at everybody. Oh, so they showed me another picture. So when I left my 24-year marriage, right, and I was in the business world, and I finally said, I'm done with business, I'm done with it all, I'm going. And I can remember thinking, oh my gosh, when I go to a party, people are going to say, so what do you do? And I won't have an answer, because my answer was always what I did, right? My answer was, I'm this. And I can remember being, oh, what am I going to do? And literally it never happened. I mean, if I went anywhere, it didn't matter. Nobody even asked me. But it was my own judgment that I would be thought of as less than because I wasn't anybody particular at that moment, So there's a piece of that they're showing me. So why did you choose those other careers?
Well, I really at the time thought that's sort of where I would thrive. I thought I was passionate about it. And it really was in the process of doing the actual work, I realized this is not what brings me joy at all. Yeah, I may be skilled at it, but it's not what brings me joy.
Right.
And spiritually suffocating.
So is there a way for you to look at that as that was a piece that adds to who you are, so that when you come to what you're going to do, that, okay, let me say it differently. So, so instead of me looking back and saying, wow, I wasted 30 years in business, I actually didn't. That taught me all these kind of things that I use now in what I'm doing. And it's, before this, I was producing events, what was that about? And I would do the same thing you're doing, like, well, what is it I'm really supposed to do? And the universe just massages us. Like, they give us this piece, they give us that piece, they give us this piece. And when you actually move into what's your passion, all the things that you learn from everything else you did will be important in what you're doing in the big picture. And if you can shift how you're looking at that, instead of judging yourself for, why am I still wandering around, but say, thank you for that one. That's incredible. It's like somebody like Michael Phelps, a swimmer, right? And what's he going to do when he retires? Well, our logical mind will say, probably maybe he'll be teaching or training or inspiring other people in some way. So the career that you're walking away from, do you mind telling me what that was?
Therapist.
So that, and what are you inspired? Is there anything you're inspired to do now?
It's really all over the place. It's and I have these snippets of aspects that I think would bring me joy. I just don't know what it looks like in terms of a income making job. And working with people, more energy, teaching involved. There's a lot of confusion about really.
Okay, so let me say something. Okay, so therapy is a wonderful thing to be educated in. So when I'm teaching, when I'm mentoring people to be mediums and to do this work in the energy, if they're mediums, if they're people who can see the other side and connect with people who've crossed, I always am like, you've got to get training in therapy or clinical hypnotherapy or cognitive behavioral therapy. You've got to learn how to talk to people. You don't want to harm people. You want to help people. So the training you've already had is a wonderful basis that will always allow you to communicate in a meaningful way to people. So look at that, because that's a big part of who you are as you move forward. So give me a snippet. Can you give me what's a little snippet or two that you're interested in?
That's the thing. I can't place it. I feel like hands-on energy work these days is something that's more drawing me in some capacity. I feel like I really love teaching and psychoeducation kind of stuff. But the traditional therapy is just it's not where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. I'm very creative and artistic and musical, and just a lot of little things that I really like. And what would that look like in terms of a career, and not necessarily a career, but income making job.
Right. So there's the piece that hangs you up right there. So for all those people out here who are trying to figure out, how can I find what I really want to do? And there's a lot of people, believe me, I see all day long. It's, so it's just start doing things that make you feel good. So it might be you have to get a job to earn some money doing something, whatever that is, that's fine. But what makes you feel good? What do you do that the time goes by and you can't even believe it happened? So like teaching, right? So people always said to me, you're going to be a teacher. And I'm like, there's no way I would never be a teacher. And that's all I do is teach all day long, but I was thinking about teacher, like, high school social studies teacher. So you've got therapy training, right? You know how to talk to people. You love to teach people. That means share. So what kind of things how do you want to make the world different? Like what inspires you? What do you love to teach? Like if you're sitting in the coffee shop and you're having a conversation with somebody, what would you be telling them about that would change their life?
It'd probably be more would be asking them. Because what I love the most is when people are in those moments of emotional transformation, and I get to be a witness to that almost. So it's sort of helping them reach that place where they kind of come home to themselves a little bit more. That literally gives me chills, that I could live in that moment all day long with other people.
Okay, so you should be doing what I'm doing then. I guess that's what I get to do all day long. I'm serious. So then yes. So then what I would say would be if you haven't, to take Reiki training and learn how to work with, have you done that?
I did that like 9 years ago or something.
Okay.
A long time ago in a former life.
Yeah. So it would be about, then go back and redo that and get that energy going. If don't worry so much about how you're going to create that transformation. So that joy you have, that's the same joy I get when I see somebody, I give somebody information like the girl before you on the phone, and then all of a sudden she gets to see something different and everything shifts and her life gets to be easier. And how awesome is that, right? So don't worry. I know it's easy to say, but I used to worry about that too. Don't worry about the form it's going to take, because it'll change and change and change. Figure out how to, make some money. Don't worry about what you're going to get from it financially. When you move into a place of joy and passion, all that will follow. So money is abundance, and abundance is joy. And so abundance comes from, having lots of friends and, being healthy and all kinds of things like that. So it's just one marker. But when you're in that place of passion and loving what you're doing, then all the rest of it comes along with it. So there's a piece, so you're caught up a little, as anybody would be, about how can I want to be able to support myself and create financial abundance, and how do I know what that is to do? So think about that you didn't do anything wrong in your therapy training, that was a piece of what is important for you to step forward. If there are things that you can do in your life now to create income, do that, but don't worry that isn't exactly the thing. Just keep that thing, that passion that lights your heart, that your soul, about seeing somebody transform. That's what you're here to do. And the universe will help you. You just have to keep going. Don't beat yourself up about this. And there's certain training that has to happen, and experiences. And like this experience of not knowing, that's an important thing too. Sometimes the universe wants to make sure we really, are going to kind of stick with it and not sell ourselves down the river. So, So I think I know it isn't probably, you're a lot closer than you think you are. You know what feeds your soul. Don't feel bad about what you walked away from. If it didn't work, it doesn't matter at this point. It's literally then say, I have this because I'm going to use this going forward. And whatever it is. So just figure out a way to create income and just get started. The universal, if you can feel good about yourself, not beat up on yourself, the universe, then it'll flow in, it honestly will.
Okay. Thank you. That's very reassuring. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I wish I could.
Thank you so much.
I know. I wish I could say, go to this corner and do that, but there's a process that's supposed to happen with this. So thank you for calling.
I trust that. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So this is tough, right? Because why didn't they show me you should call this company and that will happen? Because there's a piece in this for her about, am I a failure? How come I don't know? Why am I not successful? This is the way it should be, right? And that piece about not trusting herself and believing that she should, I hope she's listening, that she should be doing things for others based on what others think, instead of what feeds her soul. That there's a piece of healing for her about that, about wanting to please other people and not following. And of course we want to please other people, but no, I'm cancel that. Literally, it's about not pleasing herself and putting herself first and doing what feeds her soul. And even if it means she's, goes to southern Louisiana, and she's helping raise porpoises. It doesn't matter. I don't even know if they have porpoises in Louisiana. But literally, it's about that piece about feeling like she's failing and doing things for other people, having a standard that society sets for what success is. So I will say one more thing about this. Oh, I really hope she's listening, because so back when I was in business, for me to leave business, that structured world that, everything was the way it was, and to go into this sort of woo-woo kind of thing, right? That was huge, because there wasn't anybody I knew who, in that world that I walked in, who knew much about this world. And so I have absolutely nothing but pride and admiration for the people who are in this field with me. I love that I get to communicate with the other side. I don't draw people to me who are disbelievers. I literally, it's like, if you believe, come, I'll help you. And if you don't, then don't be here, sort of, And so there's a piece of, I had to step in and walk through that fear of, oh gosh, if I walk into that world, will I, that changes everything, because I'm in a world that everybody respects, right? And here's a world that's so fluid, and, how am I going to be perceived? But literally, I walked through, when I made the decision, I just walked through that, and I've never looked back, ever. So there's a piece for her about deciding what you want to do and then just moving toward it. And it doesn't have to be the biggest thing. It doesn't have to be anybody else's belief of what you should do. It needs to be what feeds your soul. And there's always fear to walk through to do that. And it might be that it might take her another 5 years. I don't think so, though, actually. I think that she's in a little dark night of the soul right now, and that's that place that pushes you, because that fear that's bubbled up for her, and she doesn't know which direction to go, and that's that place that pushes you. So you have to walk through that. You have to get through that to the other side, and everything opens up. Everybody says to me, if I just knew what was going to happen, then I could do it. That's not the way it works. So that place she's in, that you all have been in, I'm sure, one time or another, or lots of times, that place where you don't know what's going to happen and you're scared to death, that's that place that she's in, and not knowing. So that's incredible, because that means, because she's talking about it, that she's past halfway through it and on her way to the other side. We're raised in a world where people like definites. People like, this is the way it is. It's black or it's white, and it's not like that. I think she's going to be fine. Actually, it's a little bit more. She's got a little bit more ahead of her as far as trusting herself, but I think she's going to be fine. Well, I think that we're close to time to be done. So I do want to offer out to you, if you have questions and you can't call in because you're working during this time of the day, so we're between 12 and 1 Pacific time. If you go to my website, email me questions. I'm going to start at the end of the show to take the last 5 minutes and answer people's questions, people who can't be here. So, my website is MaryLeeMcRoberts.com, and just send me an email with your question, and I'll bring a list at the next show. So it's going to be the last part of every show. Will be those questions for the people who can't be here. So I really appreciate that you're joining me on this wonderful journey to explore and to educate in our intuition and our connection with the world. And I'm so privileged to get to be able to help you with that. So I'll be back next Wednesday. So tell your friends, call in, join me on the show. Take care.